delighted to be moderating our session. Welcome to those of you here in the room and those of you who are tuning in online from all over the world. It's a real pleasure to be here. And as we just heard, today is all about innovation. And on the stage here, we have innovators in education, but people who think about this challenge daily. How do you continue to innovate in education? And what more could we be doing for all the young boys and girls, men and women in education? So we have a great session coming up. I won't do too many introductions, so we can jump right into it. And I want to start with one question to each of you, if you could answer it briefly, which is, what is the biggest obstacle to innovation in education when we've seen other sectors, for example, health, that's gone through multitude of changes? Sometimes education isn't on the right track or fast enough track for innovation. So Minister, first to you.
Maybe I can, now it's working. First, dear ministers, dear colleagues, I'm honored to participate in this high-level discussion with experience from not so big, but education-wise and innovative country, Estonia. We have always kept education as our priority, and education mindset has highly valued in Estonian society. But if we talk about innovation, I don't think it's somehow difficult. In this COVID situation, we have seen that all we need to innovation is the global health crisis. At least at Estonia, COVID-19 crisis showed how fast our teachers and education system could move to digital environment. Our teachers learned how to use new video class environments and other digital solutions to continue the school years, and it was very important. And secondly, innovation in education means a mindset change of the whole school community, the school leaders, teachers, and also students' families. They are very often the most conservative ones when it comes to change the attitude to learning. And usually Estonia have a strong can-do attitude. We love challenges and thus have several approaches to educate. Some call it innovation, we call it personalized approach to learning and teaching.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and we'll go into detail about Estonia's experience shortly. But Mr. Bianchi, if I could ask you, what do you think is the greatest obstacle to innovation in education?
You know, Mina, it's interesting because it's clear that we are facing the same problem. There are three major problems today, and they are global: pandemic, climate change, and digital revolution. But we are facing these global challenges individually, alone. We need more global response, more cooperation, more international and transnational cooperation. So the real risk is that we are able to provide the global answer that the global question are posing to us.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I guess in part it's great that we're all here because we can learn from each other and take those experiences to have a more collective approach.
Bianchi.
Bianchi, my sorry. Minister Bianchi, my apologies. Dr. Moni, I want to ask you, please, the same question. What do you think is the greatest challenge?
Well, I thoroughly agree with my colleague here from Italy. In addition to that, I think it's also a matter of mindset, the traditional mindset, especially when it comes to education. And in our case, where there's a huge population, and when we're faced with myriad of challenges, whether it's social, economic, or environmental, and the very fast pace of changes in the technological development, to keep pace with it, with a huge population. These are some of the challenges, but we are determined to overcome those.
Thank you, Dr. Moni. And Your Excellency, Dr. Al-Sudairi, the same question to you.
I don't know if I can add more or less to what has been said, but let's go back to see the challenges by itself. So innovation always difficult, and why it's that? It's the lack of clear process of our urgency and embrace it. Education challenged, why? Because it's supplemented by the complex nature of the educational organization itself. So education is interconnected with all aspects. So if you see social life, if you go to the any way, you can interconnect with education, and everybody involved with the education and receive outcome from the education itself. Therefore, that's why it's very difficult for people who are on the education organization, or they are working and planning for the education, because it's involve all the stakeholders. Therefore, it's very important not to plan it yourself alone. You have to involve everybody on that nature. Therefore, when you come to execute whatever solution that you provide after depth investigation and study and planning, you will end up having process and time. You need more time to see outcome coming from the education. Education cannot be received immediately. Therefore, you need to see it, and you need to receive the outcome from it. What been learned yesterday is different from what we should learn today, and move our children, youth, and ourselves as well into an area where we have to include more different skills than before. Creativity, very important. Today we have to embrace it. We have to talk more about different kind of skills that's needed on the thinking, critical thinking, etc. That's where we have to bring out a new children or a new students into the life, not as before. So this sums up.
Thank you so much. The complexity is a really interesting point, as is the issue of time and the need for quick change, but also the need for long-term thinking. So, Minister Sisodia, if I could ask you the same question, what do you think is the greatest challenge that we're facing?
Thank you very much. I think I was listening to every panelist eagerly, and I was hearing the word mindset again and again, and it was a coincidence I'm carrying a book with me. This is Mindset Curriculums. So it's great to see that world leaders on the education platform are talking about mindset. But here I would use this word mindset in a different context. Because one, we need mindset to teach, but second is we need to teach the mindset also. The bigger question is that all over the world I have seen that we are not accepting that education can be used to teach the mindset. This is the biggest problem. We work hard on education. We all work, education leaders working across work hard on education. We work on facilities, infrastructure, technology, curriculums, then results, maybe jobs, we work, skills, knowledge, we work. But when it comes to mindset, we think, no. Mindset comes from the society. Mindset is something one gains from within. No. I think we need to have this, we need to accept this worldwide, that we have to use education to teach the mindset. In Delhi, we have done some experiments on teaching the mindset in terms of happiness curriculum, in terms of entrepreneurship curriculum, in terms of citizenship, and we are using successfully education to create a mindset in the society. So this acceptance that yes, we'll have the mindset to fix the problems of education is one, but we'll use education to fix the mindset of the society. We are having terrorism, we are having violence, we are having hatred, we are having environmental problems, but Worldwide, we think that we'll solve all these problems through law, through protocols, through treaties. No, we can't solve. We'll solve this problem through education, and the time has come that we accept education is the only tool available to the humankind. We use education as a tool. In Delhi, we are a small city, we have done some experiments, I would like to share more about it. But yes, the biggest challenge I see worldwide is we are not using education as a tool to create a mindset worldwide.
Thank you so much. And we will be talking about both happiness and Delhi's experience, but I want to turn back to Estonia. Minister Kersna, Estonia is topping the PISA tables, and you have innovated when it comes to education. So I want to ask you about the success factors that allowed you to make some of these changes and that rise up in the rankings.
Thank you for the question. I think one of the key aspects is that Estonian education system is and has always been based on equality and equity. Every child has equal success to free quality education regardless of their socio-economic backgrounds. Secondly, I think we do not want to punish students for making mistakes. If we punish them, then they never will be as innovators. We want to make young people to believe themselves and to develop their growth mindset. And thirdly, we highly valued schools and teachers' autonomy. Our national curricula only states the learning outcomes, but how to achieve these outcomes, what kind of materials, what kind of methods to use, it's up to teachers. And on the other hand, we highly valued teacher education. Our teachers must hold a master's degree. This means 5 years of universities and plus 1 year of in-service training. And it is very important that if we want to give teachers more autonomy, we have to educate them because we have to trust them. Thank you.
That's a great point. And the success factor ultimately, of course, relies on multiple issues, but especially the teachers. Fascinating to hear about the masters. I didn't realize that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bianchi, I want to ask you about Italy's experience. And of course, Italy was one of the first countries to make a decision to close schools due to the pandemic. But on the other side, it's also one of the countries that thought quite early on putting issues like climate change and sustainability as part of its curricula. So if you could tell us about your experience, but also what learnings have been taken from the era of the pandemic and having to close schools.
Yeah. Facing the pandemic, we decided to have 3 different actions. The first was emergency. Emergency, as you say, was to lock down the schools, but at the same time to launch a huge program throughout the country of long-distance learning. Second was a program of vaccination. We vaccinated more or less the 95% of the personnel, teachers and personnel, the 85% of the older students, 16 to 19, and now we are 75 of 12, 16. And today, we are starting the vaccination also of 5 to 12. But the third level, the third action that we can do thanks to the European Union action, collective action, called Next Generation, is a very large program of reform. The idea is we cannot go out from the pandemic simply coming back to the past. We have to use this dramatic opportunity. Seems a paradox, huh? Dramatic opportunity to change. And we have a large program of investment between university and the school education is something about 30 billion euro. to do exactly what you said, to transform our education system in something that I can call education for all and for everybody. That means the capacity to cover the entire population, also in permanent and long-term continuous education, but also to offer a personalized education. This is the key of the future. And what we are doing now is, on one side, to redefine the organization of the education system at national level, also with massive investment in the buildings, because the buildings of the past are defining also the education of the past. We need spaces, open spaces, to have the idea that education is open and inclusive, as you said. We discussed it at European level about that. But on the other side, we have also reforms, basic reforms. We have differences between the north and the south of the country. And we decided to intervene, investing massively in schools for babies, 0 to 6. This is a key for that kind of social adjustment that you said before. On the other side, it's clear that we have a problem of dispersion. Several people are starting the school but are not able to conclude the schools. And this is one of the issues. And we have to avoid any kind of dispersion. And on the other side, it's clear that also we have this problem that you mentioned, but probably that everybody we have now, that is requalification of our teachers. Because if you want that our teachers are able to transmit something to our children that are much more able than us to work in digital. When I have a problem or with my telephone, I ask to my son. But as everybody here, our children are much more capable. So what they can transmit, our teachers, is the critical capacity, is values, is the capacity to offer the idea to build community. And this means that we have to invest more in our teachers. And this is the main action that we are doing now. But let me say something. Also, when we are speaking about climate change, we have to invest more in our people. And we have a program that we called Regeneration School, that is a massive program that we go through the country in order to permit to everybody to understand that this is a collective action. So the key of our program is to make complexity, to face complexity, as you say, in great dimension, because the dimension, don't forget it, that the school is the largest organization in every country. And we have, through the education program, also to change the entire organization of our countries. This is the real effort. And the basic reform is in the mindset. In the past, and when I speak about the past, I speak about 2 years ago. In the past, education was a part of the government, a sectorial activity. Now, education policy is a structural policy. Is that kind of policy, probably the unique, that is able to change and to transform the countries as a whole. And this is the main problem that we have now. I think I'm speaking for all. We are not just treating a problem that is involving teachers or families. We are treating the main question for transforming our country, looking to the future.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Dr. Moni, that takes us perfectly to my question to you, which is, with a country as large as Bangladesh, you have 160 million people, and through education being able to transform the country. But it's also not easy to innovate or try to permeate the many levels that you have to go through for that innovation. So can you tell us about Bangladesh's experience? And I also, if you could, want you to touch upon, in 2008, Bangladesh was one of the first countries to think about this digital transformation. So what learnings have you taken? Because you've had a longer period of time, especially in the digital transformation era.
Thank you. You see, we're talking about transforming societies, transforming countries, transforming the future, looking forward to a future that we want. We talked about complexities, we talked about mindsets, and complexities are huge and so multidimensional, multifaceted, and especially it is even more for a country with a huge population. When we talked about our digital Bangladesh in 2008, we were, when people were talking about, people didn't believe that it was going to happen. This was just before our elections, national elections, and this was in our manifesto. The younger population, it attracted them, and they believed in us, and I think that was the main source for inspiration also for us to go for it with full force. And in the last 13 years, we have seen the realization of digital Bangladesh. Now this digital technology is used by everyone, whether somebody is in a rural area, in a hard-to-reach area, in the cities, wherever, whether it's a man or a woman or somebody from a third gender. I mean, a poor person or a person who can afford many things. I mean, it's regardless of all these factors, digital Bangladesh is a reality. We do have challenges because the technology is also changing very fast, so we have to keep pace with that, and it does take resources, and we are also a country which does have resource constraints and have competing priorities because health is a major concern, and especially during the pandemic, it's a major concern for everyone globally. So, but the digital Bangladesh has actually became the enabler during this pandemic, because we could switch from classroom learning to remote learning or distance learning within a matter of days, within a matter of only, I think it was 11 days that we started our classrooms through television, then online, then FM radios. We tried everything. But in spite of that, we did research, and our organizations, private sector organizations, our NGOs, they also did quite a bit of research. And we found out after a few months that we could still, with all these efforts, we could only reach about 60–65% of our students. We couldn't reach all of them. So we went for assignments, pen and paper assignments. And I'm very happy to say that we could reach about 93% of our students, even during the pandemic. And that also meant that all those fears about huge dropouts and all that, that didn't happen. I mean, so far, we are still doing our research, finding out about the impacts of the pandemic on the school closures, because we had to keep our schools closed for nearly 1.5 years. But it paid because we could keep our infection rates very low. Still, it's only about just above 1%, and death rates are absolutely very, very minimal. Thank God. So it's we're very happy with the outcome. But Digital Bangladesh did play a huge role, and we have advanced quite a bit, but we still have a long way to go. When it comes to education, this transformation, I mean, we are looking at, we are now going to start our new curriculum that we have just come up with. And this will focus more on learner-centric education, and teachers will play a huge role in being facilitators or guides, because now we know that the teacher is no longer the only source of knowledge and information. Yes. There are so many other sources. So they will have to adjust to that role, new role also. And then the very important factors of attitude and skills, and also the values. Because absolutely the values, because are we just looking forward to creating human beings with lot of knowledge and skills, without empathy, without humanity, without compassion, without tolerance. So these are very important factors for the transformation that we are looking for. And so we are focusing much more on that now. And I think Digital Bangladesh is also helping us, because we are able to reach out to teachers for their training also. It has become easier. And the pandemic, it was devastating for the world, but it also created huge opportunities, new opportunities for everyone to become very used to with technologies. Yeah. Even in the remote areas, teachers are now creating their own contents, digital contents, competing nationally, and even from the remote areas, they are winning in those competitions. Yeah. So you see, there is this huge kind of enthusiasm around use of technology, but we must not forget that technology is only a tool.
Exactly.
We must not lose focus on where we want to be, where we want to go, and that is creating very responsible, compassionate global citizens, skilled, empowered, but compassionate, good human beings, good global citizens. And we're trying to do that.
Thank you for those thoughts, and particularly the point about empathy and the strength of empathy and emotional intelligence, especially as we talk about digital transformation in the workforce, and as automation increases. Actually, one of the things that will make workers stand out is those skills of critical thinking and emotional intelligence. So it's also a great way to equip the future workforce. Your Excellency, Dr. Al-Sudairi, I want to turn to you, because when we talk about change, of course, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is going through incredible change on so many levels, and it would be great to hear from you how the education sector fits in to that pace of rapid change, but also innovation.
Thank you. I agree with you. We have to act very quickly to all the changes, especially we are in the education sector, and we are responsible to make our plan, initiatives, curriculum, meet that changes very quickly. As you know, Vision 2030 stipulates that we should focus on the innovation and advanced technology and entrepreneurship to achieve the objective. We have to do some kind of initiatives, program, and we have to work closely associated to fulfill the objective of that changes. We have what we call Human Capital Development Program that is initiated last September, started last September, and launched by His Royal Highness Prince Mohammad bin Salman. The program is designed to ensure that citizens have the required capability to compete the global by installing value and developing the basic and future skill, as well as enhancing knowledge. So what does that mean? We have to respond to it. In Ministry of Education, there is many initiatives on that program. It's about 80 plus. 67 of these initiatives, we are responsible about it in the Ministry of Education. So that's a huge responsibility on us. It's involved in many different aspects, from trying to work very hard to change the way of teaching. This is one. How children learn, we have to involve teaching and learning not only in the class but also at home.
Exactly.
COVID-19, for example, gave us a good example how students learn very quickly with the technology. Not only them, but also the family with them as well. So that's make it huge responsibility to us on move. And that's where we act very quickly on, with the madrasati, for example, where we reach all our children without interruption of the teaching and learning. This is very important lesson to learn from, where today you have to go with the blended learning, not only physical learning. I agree with Her Excellency what she mentioned. It is a huge responsibility on the way of the teaching our students, how we teach them differently from before. For example, we will give some examples about some of the initiatives. If I may say that 28 of these initiatives are focused on the developing students, teachers, and school administrators. Why those three important pillars? Because it is the cornerstone on the education. So if you have a teacher capable, act and react quickly to the changes, make more involvement with the students, then you will be able to graduate, have a children graduated with the skilled and empowered with the need of the future. So today we are talking about globalization. Your students not necessary to be worked and inside your country, but they are global citizens. So they have to learn more of the values differently. And that's where we have to change even make big efforts on the changing of curriculum by adding new skills, helping students to learn by themselves. Nowadays, with the technology, we have to understand we have to go even farther more into the learning. What's the side effect of technology in our learning and our children as well? Today, they are adapted to all kinds of technology. They are hooked with it 24/7. And therefore, we have also to work very hard on the health side of it and the effect,
Exactly.
mind side effect of that technology. And that is a big things to do in education. And we are proud to be a part of education system.
Thank you very much. It's incredible to hear you speak about all the different aspects of this, particularly the issue of well-being, but also we're all part of this major social experiment globally in terms of 24-hour connectivity, but also hybrid and blended learning. So we'll see how it turns out, but it's a big challenge. Deputy Chief Minister Sisodia, I want to come to you because we touched upon well-being, mindset, happiness, and I wanted to ask you about the experience of Delhi and how you can embark upon a project like the one that you did with the happiness curricula, and who are all the stakeholders that you have to bring on board for such a program?
Yeah, in Delhi, the journey of this reform started in 2015 when we fixed the problems of infrastructure, then we introduced technology to our classrooms and the results were good, passing percentage increased, then our students started getting good position in top universities of the country and started going to worldwide universities. Then the question came that are we educating them just to get university admission or good results, or are we educating them to something else? Can we make sure that these students who are passing out from schools will be respecting their families, human beings, fellow citizens, and all over throughout their life? Can we ensure through education that they won't have hatred in their heart throughout life? They won't become corrupt, whatever the circumstances may be. They won't damage the environment just because of profit and this. So these questions were in our minds. So we derived to this conclusion that let's have this happiness curriculum. So we started this class called Happiness Curriculum. It took us almost 1 year to design this curriculum. And when we introduced this, so the obvious question coming from the educators, with due respect to everybody, was, so this is going to be the regular class, then what will happen to the main subjects? I said, if chemistry or science or mathematics is the main subject and happiness is not the main subject, then we have to think, why are we educating? So we introduced this happiness curriculum as a main subject. So it's a daily class in Delhi government schools. It's a 45-minute period where we do mindfulness, where we do a lot of activities, and then it's a full regular course. It has been adopted. And now, after 4 years of its implementation, especially during the COVID period, the results were fantastic. I mean, the students who are coming out, teachers themselves have realized, parents are realizing that their kids are having all those qualities which we have been talking about: empathy, kindness, more concern about the families. And it's just because they are attending one daily class of happiness curriculum. The time has to prove it, but I'm quite optimistic that when they become the full-fledged citizen, when they go to their work, I, as an educator, education leader, want to actually guarantee it. And we should have those curriculums in our system. We guarantee about languages, we guarantee about mathematics, that the student who has studied from my school will not fail. But can we guarantee that the student who is passing out from our school will not become corrupt, will respect the women all over his life? Can we guarantee that? I think we need to guarantee. And this is an experiment, this is an innovation that Delhi government is using. I invite all the education stakeholders to come together, learn from what is happening in Delhi. If we are missing something, please help us to fix it. If we are doing something good, let's help us to fix the problems of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear the thinking about we're constantly learning. We're never going to end this process, and your call out to the floor and to others to also give you their feedback. That's great to hear. We were about to wrap up the panel, but I've been given a note that Dr. Tariq would like to make a small intervention from the floor. So Dr. Tariq Al-Gurak, the floor is yours before we wrap up.
Thank you, Mina, and thank you, your honorable ministers, for this great discussion. You see, Minister Sisodia, we don't want to learn from Delhi. We want to learn from everyone in the world. That's the whole point. And we spoke earlier, the model that we have set together, also us and you in Delhi, is a great example to the world. And Minister Dipu, I first of all would like to congratulate your government for moving from least developing countries to a developing country. So congratulations. That will not happen if you guys didn't specifically invest into infrastructure and youth. I assure you that was the approach. My point, Mina, you see, there are other 200 countries and 200 ministers in the world who are having similar stories. And some of them don't have stories. And we have to help also the other countries, and we have to learn from everyone. And that's why I keep on mentioning it, and I mentioned it yesterday, and I will mention it tomorrow, hopefully in the closing ceremony in the afternoon. Without having a global unity on education, it's not going to work. True. 100%. If we think we will achieve SDG 4 by 2030 the way we're working now, it's not going to happen. And the SDGs will be replaced with other goals, and the goal of education will continue and continue. It will never happen. And whoever attended yesterday's session and saw that emotional video of the girl in the future of 2070, that's the reality. Not that dramatic, not that dystopian, probably the world has come to an apocalypse. That was my idea. But anyways, my point is it's not going to happen if we don't unite. How can I get a Minister of Education in Lesotho speaking with a minister in Italy and Estonia and Saudi, and I have the minister from Dominica and probably St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Vanuatu all together to solve this issue? We won't be able to do it. And climate plays a role, and poverty plays a role, youth empowerment plays a role, girls' education. We have to unite on this, and that's what we're hoping to do at Rewired with the legacy of Rewired, and we will do an announcement tomorrow, and the UN Secretary General's deputy, Mina Mohammad, will have a very big announcement in the afternoon tomorrow on this specific topic that I mentioned. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So while I have other questions, and I would love to hear all your feedback, I'm afraid I'm going to have to run this panel to an end because we have other speakers waiting. So for now, I want to thank you for your candid and frank ideas and insights and letting us learn from your experiences. And thank you to all of you who are attending and have also tuned in online. I wish you all the best and success for the continuation of Rewired Summit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.